In my last video, I did a VOD review of our last few tournaments where we've been in a bad tournament streak. Following this video, we had 2 decent tournaments where some little mistakes cost us the qual. Just like last video, I'm going to go over the mistakes we made and how to prevent them in order to qualify for next week. Starting with Wednesday's tournament, we did pretty well, making it to endgame every time, with only 2 games being outside the top 5 due to getting awareness checked. Friday, we started off decent but ended terribly with 2 off spawn deaths and getting cut off twice, dying right before top 10. All the mistakes we made in our bad games were pretty obvious, and it just comes down to us remembering not to do it again, so there's less to learn there. I want to focus on the top 5s or better that weren't wins. While 5th might seem like a good game, you're really missing out on 21 points off of placement alone. And between all these endgames, that's 81 points and 123 points. So I'll be watching to see what's preventing the win and what we need to do instead. First issue is not blocking my head when dropping on rotates. We'll find ourselves on second height and Leaf will drop and get ahead, and I'll just follow and build little to no cover over my head, which leads to me getting beamed or die. Whenever we drop, I need to be pre-placing cones or floors or whatever to make sure I don't get shot, because this puts Leaf in a position where he needs to solo clutch when I could have just used a few builds and been alive and get a top 2. Next issue we ran into a couple of times, and in my opinion the most important thing to fix is not staying ahead of final zone. When you're this late into the game, there's limited space, so you want to establish yourself in zone and create as much space as possible. There's so many people fighting for limited space, so if you stay behind, you're prone to getting cut off and go from having a guaranteed top 2 to a top 5 missing out on all those points. You can see the consequences to not staying ahead in these clips where we could have easily placed higher if we just stayed ahead. To make sure this doesn't happen again, I told Leaf when we get to final zone to only focus on staying ahead and not getting cut off, and I'll call out any fights or refreshes that we need to go for. You can see in this clip, he starts smacking at this team's wall and they were able to cut me off and we ended in 4th. If we stayed ahead, I still had 200 mats, which gives us more time to make a play and get our top 2. Last issue is getting dropped down, whether it be getting edited down or getting sprayed out when it gets later into the game. Sometimes we get so focused on one thing we forget about all the other things, like standing on wood and not expecting to be sprayed down, especially late into the game when that's all you have. In this game, we just went for a bad refresh, and when I was backing up, I was on single layer wood and got sprayed out instantly because I wasn't paying attention to it. In this other game, we were staying ahead of zone, breaking through enemy builds, and Leaf thought that these were our builds and got edited down. Such minor mistakes that have huge consequences, but as long as we remind ourselves of them, we won't make them again. If we fix these mistakes, we'll be able to win some games and quality elite much easier. There's no Challengers Cups this week because of the Invitational, but I'll be live every day playing scrims and working on our mistakes to win more endgames. If you enjoyed or found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.